Hello YouTube, and today I have another video for you guys on AtWar on move prioritization. So basically this is going to be a build up on the video I did a while back about turn blocking. Now the link is in the description below if you haven't seen it, but if you don't feel like watching it, basically what I explained is that from the second turn and on, there are ways to control at least the chance you have of being turn blocked or turn blocking. So in this video I'm going to show you guys all how to structure your turns. Now, by any means, I am not a pro AtWar player, but I do kind of know how to structure my turns sufficiently to at least be able to explain the concept. Move priority is one of those things that you're not always going to have be set in stone, but the basics can be marked. Alright, so starting the game, there's not really much to talk about in move prioritization at the beginning of the game. Also in the first turn, it's practically useless if you have knowledge of move prioritization, because besides expanding, so like if let's say you move one infantry and then you can't reach Belgium, so you want to move another one, besides expanding, and that's a different video for a different time, move prioritization doesn't matter. So of course on this turn you would wall and do all that stuff and it'd be fine. Now the second turn is the turn where it all matters, because the second turn you can be attacked, and you will be attacked if you're not an ally fag. So I'm not sure about everyone, but once I learned how to wall, I had the instinct of anything that I captured on the next turn I would wall. So let's say I just captured Germany. The first move I would do is I'd go and I'd wall Germany here. So I don't know why I did this awkward wall here, but let's say I did that, right? And then I would make my move and attack. And this is actually the most backwards way to play the game. So the reason this is because, as I explained in the last turn blocking video, when you are trying to not be turn blocked or increase your chance of turn blocking, you want your first move to be the move that you think is most important. So in this case, walling is just setting me 3 moves ahead in the move prioritization chance to be turn blocked, of course, and I don't want that. So caught what I was saying last time. Of course your first move wants to be the most important moves. Now this is going to always change, in every situation this will always be different. So I'm going to show what I think is like a good basis to follow, but you have to remember that it's always going to change. It's going to take experience to figure out when to move and what to move where. I still have to learn, and I am no means the greatest player on AtWar. So a good way to get this experience is simply just to ask a high level player, and by high level I mean like high skilled player, to review their turns, what you think you should do, what you actually did, and evaluate the output of everything that you did in one turn, and that will make you get better. But let's say you're trying to find a basis, you haven't heard of move prioritization before now, then here's what I would do. For example, if you're mainly attacking and you're in the position to be mainly, forcing the pressure on your opponent, the first thing you're going to want to do is turn blocks. Alright, so let's say your opponent has a huge stack in Netherlands, and I know that this isn't huge, but let's just say they do, and they're trying to get to the UK, and you know that, right? You might be the UK or something like that. Now, one thing a player might do is they might use their one unit, of course, and they might try to first move, and first move refers to making your first move, of course, the Netherlands. Now, I was in this situation a while back, and someone pointed out to me that, well, what does the opponent have to do to get to the UK? Well, first they have to, of course, move their stack or their transport, of course, and then they have to get their stack and move it to the UK, right? And so, thinking like this, if we just attack the transport first, we have a much higher chance of TBing this stack, simply because a move won't go through, so the stack won't move, right? So, as opposed to they get the move through and now they move the transport. It's a much better way of thinking about your turns and saves you a lot more time, especially if you didn't need to TB the original stack. Now on the contrary, of course, if there's a stack that's landlocked and you really need to TB it, it's going to make more sense to just TB the stack directly and get your chances from there, right? So the next thing you have is the important attacks. So like if you have a stack here, right? You want it to go to Paris, or you want it to go to Switzerland or somewhere, and you don't want it to get TB'd, then of course this might happen. And these two things are interchanged, because if you have, let's say you need to rely more on getting off your attacks, then it doesn't really make sense to try and TB first. Or if you need your TBs because you don't really, it doesn't really matter if you get your attacks first and you just need your opponents not to mobilize their defense units otherwise, then of course you would want to TB first. Then you have your regular attacks, your regular defenses, and then when I say pre-turn unit movement, I mean like, well, next turn I definitely want to get to the UK or something, so I'm going to move all my units in Hamburg. So you do that kind of last, you know, where you have saved units where they can't be hit and stuff like cities. And then last but not least would be your WFs or stuff like that, where you're not hitting the city but you're just kind of placing units so they don't get walled. And then last but not least is going to be your walls, of course. So walling will be the last thing, or should be the last thing. And of course, the time is going to be your enemy here. Can you get through all of that and then have time to wall? Because walling is very important. And it could be called more important than all this other stuff, but to have an ideal turn, you're going to want to do walling last. So for defending, it'd be kind of like the same thing. You either want to turn block the mega ultimate weapon turn blocks, or you need to really get your defense units into a certain city, and then your attacks and your defenses, because, and this could vary, those two are also interchangeable. If you feel like you're gonna benefit more from getting off a higher percentage of attacks than you are going to be from defending more cities, then go ahead and attack. And then your pre-turn unit movements, so like let's say I had units in Spain and I was playing as UK, and maybe I thought next turn my opponent would rush me, so I could move all my units into Bilbao, and the next turn I just have to use a transport and go over there and stuff like that. And then your walls, and when I say walls, you could even put like a wall, and of course this would be really bad in say a 3v3, but if you put like a wall from about right here all the way to like Nantes, so you couldn't get TB'd, and then next turn you wouldn't even have to worry about moving those units first, because you know they can't be hit. So of course if your units can't be hit, you don't really have to worry about them. Now of course, like I've been reiterating, this all depends on the situation. If your opponent is going to be able to predict every first move you have, you might not be as successful as being unpredictable. But at that point, it's going to be more about your playstyle and strategy more than your move prioritization. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments below.